There we go.
Okay.
Like that.
No, don't do that. Yeah, but we need to more hide. Say, we hide. Oh, this, I got it. This.
I bring my own. My outfit.
Got it. Okay, we're good.
Okay, so I'll just bend down and then I'm gonna let you take over the introductions, okay? Of each of you.
Perfect.
Hi, good afternoon. Hi, 10 George Realty. We're really excited. We have a beautiful lunch and learn today with a very informative 1031 exchange seminar presented by Investors 1031 Exchange, and I'm going to let them do their introduction. So thank you very much. Sit back and learn, and you're in for a treat. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, hi, guys. My name is Mark Gould, Managing Director of Investors 1031 Exchange. This is Brandon Kress, VPA, VP of Sales. So anyways, yeah, we wanted to come in and talk about 1031 exchanges and how brokers and agents can utilize those to kind of gain more clients, more listings, become more of an advisor than just an agent. Because within this middle zone of the real estate business, you have 1031 exchanges. And so there's a whole ecosystem to be able to kind of, prospect new clients that have had, their buildings or any investment property for a while, and then find them new properties and such. So, next slide, please, sir. So we are Investors 1031 Exchange. So one of the things that we are an independent national company. So I can call us like a boutique company. But what happens, we're not tied to title or escrow companies that we're independently owned by ourselves. So it allows us to be advisors, be a resource, walk through deals, walk through strategies with you, your clients, and kind of become more of a part of your team. So I always tell agents we work with, I say, hey, they'll say, hey, Mark, I got a client, they want to do an exchange there. Here's their number. I go, no, I'll take their number because I'll be in touch with them. But, we have a conference line, and I always say, hey, no, let's set up a call with you and your client. And then you say, hey, we got, our guy on our Investors 1031 is part of our team. Set up a call with Brandon or myself. And then we get on the call with you and your client, talk through the situation, any kind of circumstance they're in, strategy, how they can move from one to another, different questions that come up, and so on and so forth. So basically, we're going to start this out with about a 3.5 hour long conversation about tax. I'm kidding. And also, but let's make this a conversation. If you have any questions at any time, just go ahead and raise your hand or just shout it out or throw a water bottle at me. It doesn't matter. It's good. But we can go back and forth. So I'm going to breeze through the basic guidelines for the legal IRS tax code 1031 so you can understand the basic rules if you don't already know, or some ones that might fill that in. And then we'll kind of expand on how we can be a resource to help you gain traction, get more listings, and utilize our networking system to be able to help yourselves. So it kind of goes, section 1031 exchange of the IRS tax code means I'm going to sell an investment property. So non-occupied, like not my primary residence, but it's an investment property. It can be land, it can be an office building. I can sell any investment property and buy another investment property. And basically I'd be able to take all the taxes from that, or all the proceeds, everything, no taxes, take the entire sale, roll that through a 1031 exchange, and purchase with that entire money another investment property and defer all taxes, not pay a dime. So it's called, and of course, it's tax deferred, not exempt. So these are deferred taxes that stay with that through however many times you want to exchange. You'll keep getting those deferred taxes, but the goal is you put it in you tell your clients, always keep your real estate in a trust. And then the beneficiaries, when you pass on, it's going to swap until you drop. Because then when you die, your beneficiaries get those, but all the deferred taxes, all taxes delete. So everything's gone. There's a step up of tax basis to that new value, and then they could sell technically and not pay taxes. So it kind of goes a couple basic rules. We go next. There we go. So 1031 exchange is 180 days, 6 months from the day you sell and it closes. That's day one. So that's first day, and it goes 180 days. Has to be closed. The next property has to be found and closed with 180 days. Anytime within that is easy. And then it rolls into the first 45 days. Next one is your identification period. That's, yeah, one more. Okay. So the first 45 days is that 180 is, and I'll send, what I'll do is, so you don't take pictures, you can take notes, but I will get everyone's email of the brokerage.
Okay.
And I will send you a PDF of all of this. I'll also send you a digital pamphlet that's there as well, so you have that. I'll also send you our single page spreadsheets, talk about our company, FAQ stuff, all that good stuff. So first 45 days is identification, meaning within the first 45 days, you should be able to find the next property. Now, I always suggest that once you have a contract to sell your property, that's when you start looking. Because once you close, then your 45 days start. So if you have a 30-day escrow, then that's 75 days until you have to identify, right? And so there's different, I don't think it's the silliest rule that they put into this tax code, because 45 days doesn't really mean anything. I don't know why they have it, but you can identify there. There's ways to kind of massage that timeline, but the one timeline you cannot massage is 180 days. So we come in and also help, because we have a lot of deals that always get sent to us, because people know that we have people in our exchange that have cash that need to close in 6 months. So there's deals always coming in, and we always help agents find deals for their clients, for uplegs is what we call it, to identify. And we don't take referral or brokerage fees. We just do our part in facilitating that kind of network to help. Next slide. So, well, actually, to go back to the last slide, I will talk about, there's 3 different identification rules. There's the 45, so within 45 days, you can identify 3 properties. So 3 different properties. I found 2, and maybe I'm thinking about this one. I wrote offers on a few, but I identified 3, and I just have to close on 1 of those. Then there's the 200%, meaning if I sold something for $1 million, I can identify as many properties as I can up to 200% of that. So up to $2 million, then I close on 1. 95% rule is usually used for larger portfolios. Like I sold a $20 million portfolio, and 95% means I can identify as many properties as I can, but I have to close on 95% of those properties. The biggest rule is that you have to close on something you identify, which off the books, we can talk about how we can help with some of that, massaging that time, but ultimately people get a little nervous about the 45 days, but it never really comes into a stress situation, because it usually happens because you always start looking before you close. Next slide. So then different types of exchanges, right? So normal exchange, forward. I'm going to sell my property. It's going to go into the exchange, and then I purchase the next one. Then there's a reverse exchange, meaning I want to sell this property, but I just found this property that I really want to buy. So then you're going to do a reverse exchange. So then the purchase of that property happens first, and then you sell your property, and then that goes in exchange and moves forward. The difference is that you cannot buy from yourself. So in an exchange, you cannot sell something and purchase from yourself. You cannot sell something and invest in something you already own. So what happens is a special entity gets created, an LLC, it's an EAT. And so you come to us, and we actually have to create that EAT, the LLC, and we have to be the members of that LLC. And the client is the manager, so they're not in the LLC. So then that LLC then purchases that property first, and it goes through the legal counsel has to dock up all the contracts and such. But what happens is it becomes like a overarching triple net, essentially, where the person that's the owner that's going to be doing the reverse is kind of a full obligated triple net, and then it holds with them. They have full liability of it. But then when they sell their property, then that then goes through the exchange like a forward exchange. And then that then purchases that property, and that refis into that. And then it releases us from that LLC, and they can keep the LLC and be theirs, or they can just put it back in their name. So those are different kinds. And then we'll build a suit. So I'll cover that one. Build a suit is same thing as a reverse, but you could already sell your property. It could be a forward. But what happens is that I sold my property for $1 million. and then I need to purchase $4 million or greater. Exchanges go equal or greater value from what I sold for, net sale, and I'll cover that in a second. But ultimately, I found a property for $800,000. Doesn't reach my million, but it needs some work. So then this EAT would then purchase that property, and then I can purchase that for 800, but then 200,000 is still in my exchange. And that 200,000 can be used to improve for your improvements. Now, these improvements have to happen within 6 months, right? Before the 180 days is over. But then you can use that to then increase the value to $1 million. So let's say I do, new bathroom, new kitchen, so on and so forth. And I spend, $150,000 or $200,000 on the build to suit. And then once you finish, then it closes, and then now you have your property, and that equals the $1 million that you sold for. On the other side of that is, let's say you get to 175 days and you still have $30,000 left in exchange, so $30,000 worth of work. Well, make sure you trust your contractor, because you'd be like, look, I'm gonna give me an invoice for $30,000 and I'm gonna pay you right now for it. And then, you can get your stuff out, because anything that's left in the exchange after 180 days becomes profit, and now you're taxed on whatever's left. So qualified use requirements, right? So investment property. So anything with rental or income production, like anything that I'm gonna even develop, but I'm gonna hold. 1031 exchange rule, the law, is one of the only rules and laws that's based on intent. So my intent is to purchase the property for investment, using my business. Even if it's a property to acquire and fix up, but not flip out of, then my intent is to hold this property for a long term, but I'm gonna fix it up. So anything that's gonna be, my intent is to create an investment property that I'm gonna hold for a long time. Now, if you're fixing this thing up and you're gonna rent it, but your intent was always to do that, and someone knocks on your door and says, I wanna buy this, and you've only had it for 6 months, I wanna buy it for way more than you think it's worth, you'll be like, yeah, I'll sell it. And then the government will say, well, you sold. And you say, well, my intent, as you see my emails and texts, is I've got to get occupants in there to rent. But someone knocked on my door and wanted to buy it, so my intent changed. And that's okay. But if you say, I want to fix and flip this, and all your emails and communications that I can't wait to get this on the market and sold, then you get pinched. Because ultimately you have to be holding this for more than that. Anything that's held for more than 2 tax cycles, so I'd say 16 months at the least, usually is fine to get cleared if you want to sell after that. So after 2 tax cycles, then you can turn and sell your investment property. But if you do something within 6 months, then it has to be your intent was always to hold, but we had a death in the family and we needed, something happened. And so my intent changed. So something that's not allowed is obviously property acquired to develop, but to develop to sell immediately, which is my intent's not there. Condo conversions, intent's not there. Fix and flips, intent's not there. This is just because I'm going to purchase something, fix it up, and sell it. That's not investment property. That is a profit money-making machine, and that's the way that the government wants to have you reinvest that money within the market and continue to hold that market to be able to create housing, to create, jobs, and so on and so forth. So that's how the qualified use requirement goes. Now, when you reinvest this money, you have to reinvest 100% of it. So let's say I sell a property for $1 million, okay? But I have $200,000 worth of debt. So I close and it's $1 million. Well, let's do that a little bit differently. Let's get to the net sale. So when you sell something for $1 million, you have closing costs, you have commissions, right? So let's say mine is $50,000. It might be more, it might be less, but it's an easy number. So now I sold for $1 million, but after closing costs, not taxes, not debt, but just closing costs. So escrow, title fees, exchange fees, wiring fees, commissions, those things get reduced. And now my exchange is $950,000 because that's my net. Now $200,000 now comes out of that to go pay off my loan. So now I have $750,000. Well, I still have to purchase at $950,000 or greater, so equal or greater value. So the goal is let's say I bought this property with, at $600,000 and I put $200,000 down, and I still, let's say, sorry, put $300,000 down. Now I'm at $200,000 of debt left. Well, Now I'm still paying on the 200,000 on the $300,000 loan, but if I go get something for 950, I go get it. And no one's refied in the last 10 years because of interest. So now they can go buy something and only get a $200,000 loan, so they'll lower their debt payment and increase their market value rents. But ultimately, you have to go and replace the debt. Now, it's not debt replacement. It's debt replacement, not replacing the debt. So you don't have to go get debt to purchase the 950. If you have 200,000 in cash, you can always infuse your own cash to meet your exchange. You don't have to get the debt, but you have to invest 100% of it. Anything that's not, you will be paying tax. So let's say you buy something for, you have 750, but I have to buy it for 950, but I bought for 850. And I put 100,000 of my own money in. Even though I didn't get that extra $100,000 at the end of the year, the government's gonna say, well, you took a $100,000 boot, and they're gonna tax you on that money that you didn't achieve your 1031 exchange. Like kind properties. This one catches everyone. They go, well, I sold a house. Can I buy a small retail center? Yes. Like kind is a horrible term. It just means investment property is what like kind. So I could sell an office building and buy 5 houses. I could sell land and buy a retail center. I could sell mineral rights and buy a mall. So it's just a matter of investment property where it's not your primary residence. As long as it's not your primary residence, it is investment property. You could sell an apartment building and buy 4 vacation homes, but it's not your primary residence, right? So that's how it works. Vacant land, industrial, commercial, oil and gas interest, Miller interest, 30+ year leases, development with intent to hold and rent, or the 2 out of 5 rule. So sometimes people were renting their property and then they moved in. And they've lived there for a year, they lived there for 2 years. Well, they rented it for 3 years before that. Now they could still sell and 1031 exchange it. So the 2 out of 5 rule works on either side. So if I was renting, and then I got rid of my place and I kicked the renters out and I lived there for 2 years, then I can sell it and do a 1031 exchange. What you also can do, because you also lived there for 2 years, you can get a 121. So if you're married, 121 is 500,000 tax-free, or if you're single, it's 250 tax-free. So sometimes the best combo is I have $1 million property and I have all equity in it and I sell that, but I rented it out until 2 years ago. So I lived in it. So now I can claim 121 and exchange. So, and I'm married. So now I have $500,000 that gets taken away that I have tax-free. So now my exchange is only $500,000 from $1 million. And then I can exchange that 500,000 into another property that's 500,000. And that's it. So that's 2 out of 5. Or if I want to buy my future dream home, then I sell one of my or 2 of my investment properties and I find this dream home and I rent it for more than 2 years. And then I kick them out and I can move into that 2 out of 5 year. So that's a good way to kind of strategize for the long term with your clients. So not like kind properties, primary residence, property held for sale, which is fix and flip, cash, take cash, you're paying your tax, stocks and bonds, and stocks and bonds kind of feeds into mutual funds and REITs. REIT is something that if you go into like a DST, and then you'll hear a 721 UPREIT. Once it goes into a 721 and goes into a REIT now becomes a stock essentially within an LLC. You've thus taken yourself out of the real estate business. So if you sell that REIT, you'll pay your deferred taxes and the taxes on top of those capital gains. Partnership interests, which is a little bit tricky because you can sell your investment property and purchase a property that somebody already owns, but buy half of it. Then you'd be in a tenant in common. You buy half of it, right? You buy 50% as tenant in common on title. And so now that's that. But if a partnership interest in a business or anything that's not real estate, or into like an LP, a limited partner, which is also just an investment within like the LLC, not the actual name on title or part of the deed, then that's what that is. LLC interest or shares in the corporation. Basically, it comes down to sell real estate, purchase real estate in one way or another, but you have to own or be on title or be a part of that real estate property.
Question. Can you 1031 exchange your personal interest into the LLC interest?
No, you can't 1031.
Like, for example, if you sell the property and then you invest the sale proceeds into a LLC which purchases another property.
No. So what happens is everything follows the tax. So whatever you sold for, if it's under your name, then your name needs to purchase whatever's next.
Right.
Secondly, if you sell for $1 million, but your proceeds were 500,000, when you 1031, that's a wash. You sell for $1 million, you have to invest $1 million.
Right,
And-
I know that
Yeah,
I will invest all the proceeds into the LLC. In other words, the LLC can be either I own 100% or I own 150%.
yeah. So the deal is this: if you sell it, if you sell it, the property's under your personal name,
Yeah, right,
and then you're going to go purchase something, and you're going to create an LLC.
right.
If it's yours solely, then it's a pass-through entity. You can do that.
I can do that.
You can do that, but you can't bring on a partner.
Oh, you can't?
No.
Okay.
And the other thing that I would suggest to all your clients is never invest in a property with a partner under one LLC.
Yeah.
Create your own LLC and then have your partner create their own LLC, and those two LLCs buy that property because then it's tenant common. Because ultimately, then if you have a property and now it's worth $1 million and you have your LLC pass-through entity, that LLC pass-through entity, or if you're married, you file jointly, still pass-through. Now there's 50% tenant in common, which means you only own 500,000. So if it sells, you only need to take that 500,000. That's your now exchange to only 500,000. So, but you can't take your money and then create a partnership with an LLC with somebody else and then purchase a property. You can't do that because it goes back to who filed the taxes. So any tax entity that was paying taxes on this property, when you 1031 exchange, has to be the same. You can't even, if you have a partnership that owns a property, let's say you and your buddy own a property in an LLC and you sell that property, you cannot break that partnership up. That partnership, the two people have to stay in the LLC the same. And then once you get the other side, there may be cash out refi, buy the guy out, and after 1.5 years, then have him sign and get him off the LLC, but it has to be same to same.
What about the DST, the
Yeah.
State
Right.
Statutory Trust?
Yeah, so I'll get into that in a second, but to quick answer on that is the Delaware Statutory Trust it's a trust that owns properties. And so the government allows you to do two different kinds of investments that are not proper, like I own the property only, is a DST and a TIC. So a DST and a TIC. So tenant in common investments, kind of like what we were talking about with Casper, or like DSTs. And I'll go through the difference in that, but you can go with DST and then that'll sit, and then you'll be able to take passive income off that, same as the TIC. So how taxes impact real estate investments in California? Because we're here, this is why we drafted up. So this is what you're looking at. So your capital gain tax 2024. So you're looking at somebody, if they have multiple properties and stuff, you're probably hovering around 20%. Then you have healthcare reform, California state tax, and then things that people don't realize is depreciation. Depreciation recapture is what the government takes. Also, something about depreciation. Let's say you put $200,000 down on your property and it grows, it was like a $600,000 home or investment. And then you put that $200,000 down, you think that's your basis, but you've had it for 10, 15 years and you're taking depreciation. Especially now, you take accelerated depreciation. So let's say you took $100,000 of depreciation off that. Well, now it's going to sell for $1 million. You're like, well, I have $200,000 in it. You don't. Your depreciation pulls down your basis that you put in that money. That's your money. You're taking tax-free money of depreciation, so you're taking away. So you put $200,000 down, but you took $100,000 of depreciation. Now you only have $100,000 into the deal. And if you sell it, then the government's going to say, cool, we'll hit you with all of these taxes, and then we want 25% of that depreciation back. And so they'll be like, oh, give us another check for $25,000 of what you're taking. So some of the benefits of what it looks like quickly is this: you have your cash flow, you sell, you buy bigger, but you pay taxes, right? That's the outside. But through an exchange, it just kind of keeps looping where cash flows sell even bigger purchase. then cash flow, sell even bigger purchase. And it's a way to develop pretty substantial real estate portfolio by rolling things through a 1031 exchange, because you're not taking any money, you're just rolling everything into the next property and not paying any taxes. Sometimes people need money, so they go, Mark, I want to take, $200,000 from when I sell this and exchange the rest because I got to pay off credit cards or whatever it is. And I go, no, what you should do is sell the thing, purchase your next property, and go Rockefeller way. Leverage your equity and your assets against debt. Then just cash out refi against that extra and go take $200,000 from the bank, which is going to be tax-free. And then you can pay and add that to your mortgage, because ultimately, if you have properties, it'll be paying itself off. But take money from the bank on debt against your equity, over taking equity to yourself. As soon as you take your own money, they tax a lot. But if you roll that in, put that in that asset, then you got the equity sitting there, especially through 1031 exchange. Most of the time, people have over 50% of what is purchased. So they're only getting anywhere from a 30 to 50% loan to value on their property. So at any time, you can go put all that in there and then pull that down, cash out refi. Banks will give that to you because you're already over owning half of it. So they'll go down to 50% and give you what you need. And now you got free money. So case study, right? So client purchased a property for $500,000, holds for 10 years. Okay. Depreciation of $185,000. Just walk through this. So now I put $500,000 into this straight up, bought it equity. But now I'm going to sell for $1 million. But because I took $185,000, now total capital gains is going to get taxed at $685,000. So federal tax, Medicare tax, California state tax. So my net capital gain now is only $451. But depreciation recapture, that's another $46,000 that they're going to take from that $185. So now my net amount available is the $404,000, right? And basically that represents about 44% of taxes. So go to the next one. So then if you look at this, so without a 1031 exchange, I have, look, let's say we get a 50% LTV and loan to value at a gross, sales income, scheduled income, sorry, is 10%. So without a 1031 exchange, I'm reinvesting this 50% LTV, and this is my scheduled income. But utilizing the 1031 exchange, now I'm available to reinvest the full $1 million, 50% loan to value $2 million. My scheduled income is $200,000. So the difference is $120,000 per year of gross scheduled income of just doing a 1031 exchange, which if you need money, then you can see that you're already increasing money. You don't even have to lift a dollar to pay any taxes. And if you needed any cash, you could probably gain some cash from a cash out refi when you first, a couple months after you purchase. Next slide. So that kind of runs through the basics of 1031 exchange. Now, for us, it's always advised be different. And that goes for us, it goes for agents we work with and brokers. So because we're independent, it allows us to help strategically clients look through and build portfolios, help agents kind of find ways to work better with their clients, because ultimately we, a lot of the young agents, they just go sell something for the commission so they can take your girlfriend to Hawaii. But the goal is to retain these clients, right? Retain these clients and have a Rolodex of clients. And the way you do that is being able to be a resource, some advisor to understand this, because there's a whole ecosystem in the middle of this real estate business that there's investors that are trading. And so something that we do, we have everyone sending us across the country sends me deal after deal after deal every single day, because they know that I have people that need to buy. Now, all those people that are selling are also going to be doing 1031 exchanges, and they're going to be looking to buy it. So what we've done as a free network to any agents that work with us is we set up a deal room. And the deal room is basically, it's something that, hey, people are sending us all these deals. So we have over 23,000 contacts. We started in 2008. And so all the clients that we've had since then, and all of our current clients and all of our network, about 23,000 people. And so for a while, we sent marketing emails every Wednesday. But then after, a couple of years back, we're sitting there going, well, we have all these people that are going to sell these deals. And we have all these people that need to buy these deals. And all the people that are selling also need to buy. And then agents need to find this. So we set up a deal room. So every Wednesday, so if you're selling a deal that's going to be an exchange, whether it's a house, retail center, grocery store, it doesn't matter. And it's going on market or even off market, it goes in, you can upload into our deal room. We'll do the exchange. That's the access point. That's the, what's the catch? That's it. It doesn't cost any money. We help, basically that goes in, you upload it to the deal room. And then every Wednesday, that deal room gets blasted to over 22,000 people because agents pay a lot of money for leads, marketing. This is a free resource because we're in this whole bubble within the middle. And so what's happened is things are trading faster. People are seeing what they need to see because sometimes people live in California, but they want to buy in Texas. Well, those deals are there. And if they're not quite there, we have between Brandon, myself, and Tommy, and our other sales guys, we have a network to every agent in all the main cities across the country. So sometimes someone's like, oh, I need to find someone in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I don't know why you want to live there or Byron, but hey, maybe they want to buy an apartment there. But I just pick up the phone, call some of those guys, and they start sending and connect those people, and we're trading deals now. And we're an accommodator. The only thing, I'll just do the exchanges, but that resource is there because it just helps. Kind of old school way of doing business. We stay in our lane. No referrals, no referral fees, no brokerage fees. We just want to see people doing business because it seems like sometimes, hey, it's slow, but it's not always slow. It's just access points to information that sometimes you can't have or don't know how to get. Yes.
So in essence, you're just a facilitator in the deal room, and you don't get any commission or any referral fees and nothing.
Nope.
Then why are you doing this?
Because we want to grow our business because if I can do that to help sell these deals, I can't run an exchange company if I don't do exchanges. So if I can help them sell, then I do the exchange. So it helps grow our business because I don't need, you guys work hard to deal with clients and you're.
So in the deal room, we directly interact with the other party.
Yeah, your information would be there. Your information would be there. If you upload your OM.
That's it.
And then they'd see that, and then they would contact you, and you contact them. The goal is that it's our way of earning real business and showing that we're here to be your 1031 accommodator. But we can't do our business unless you're selling deals. So why wouldn't I help you sell a deal? And you guys have to, if you talk to another agent that gives you a phone number, you're getting an email 2 weeks later going, I want a 20% referral fee.
Yeah.
And it keeps people from facilitating real business. Things need to move. Because things need to move, right? Things need to want to sell fast, find things to buy fast and get more clients and retain clients because that facility for you builds a great business to be able to create a great network and say, wow, this person has an access point that no one else does. I want to use them again. So that's the idea. And so as it grows and as it has grown, as we've seen, we're on our way here. Emails and phone calls from clients that or agents are both of us just people have been calling, coming in. It's all inbound instead of all of us going out selling. It's because what we're doing is we're giving a good platform for people to be able to actually use it for business. And the only catch is we're your accommodator.
So how do you qualify to be in that deal room?
You tell us what, and it's like if they're not gonna exchange and they're just gonna sell something, it won't go in the deal room.
Wow.
These are only deals that are going to be using exchange, which, but look, you bring us 5 exchanges or a bunch of exchanges and you go, hey, Mark, look, this one's not going to be exchanged, but can I throw it in the deal room? I'm like, yeah, of course you can, because we're already doing business together, right? But no, the access point to this is really just for, it's kind of like we run a market, right? It's a market exchange essentially. So go on. So this is something that you can utilize now for prospecting, and something we're developing with the deal room that's going to be also a service is going to be, look, if you want to find new prospecting tools or you have people that you want to go cold leads out to, is that what would be good is you find non-occupied owners for single family residents that are renting their house, or people that have small retail centers or small apartment buildings, let's say 5 units or more, or to under 20. Ultimately, what happens is that you can see, okay, well, they've owned this property and we're getting all this information from across the country, but hey, I want to see, 50 people that have owned the property for more than 15 years. That's a rental, regardless of what it is. Small retail, apartment, single family house, whatever, non-occupied owner. And then what happens is, okay, you'll see, well, these guys have owned it for 15 years, but in 15 years, probably have not refiled. And they're probably under market value rents, because that's why rent control is in place, is because most of the time people don't do their year leases. They don't up their rents every year because they're kind landlords. And ultimately, what happens is they're overpaying on debt and they're under market value rents. But you say that, you see that. Now you can go to these clients, these cold clients, prospecting tools, and say, hey, John, hey, look, and you find other locations because we have the deal room. We have all these other deals that are coming in. You might see something somewhat in the same area. That's a new build that's, priced just a little over what you think some of these other people can sell for. You've never talked to them, but you're like, wow, it's new build. And, it seems like they've had this property for more than 20 years, but they've had it also, haven't refied in the last 15. So I can go talk to them and say, hey, look, John, I know you had this property for a while. We have all these other deals here, but I noticed you haven't refied. So I don't know what your rents are, but I would imagine you're overpaying on debt. And then this, do you know about 1031 exchanges? Let's get on the phone with our partners at 1031. They'll explain it to you. And then now you say, well, look, you'll be able to sell this for $2.5 million. And you have only $400,000 in debt, but you had $1 million debt originally, and you're still paying against that $1 million debt at the same price, right? But you only have 400 now, but you're still paying $1 million and you're under market value rent. So this one's selling for 2.7, and so you'll get a $600,000 loan instead of the $1 million. So now you're paying less debt, and the market rate rents are going to be achieved at this place. So now you're doubling your rents, lowering your debt, and so it kind of walks through on this. It just kind of shows how you can utilize the 1031 to get more listings and find different places that, because if you can access the deal room, and if you can access prospecting tools of things that you might need from us, we're building out that whole side. But then now you can have this whole leverage of understanding how 1031s work, why people use them, and how to kind of achieve like a higher rent roll for your clients while finding them less debt. And some people are, after they've owned for a long time, they're almost full equity on this, right? So what happens is full equity on something that's owned for more than 20 years pretty much has no basis left because of depreciation, right? And so they're going to pay crazy on taxes, but there's always something else that they can buy for the same price, or even just a little bit more, that actually will achieve way more market value rents. And that's kind of the way that you can navigate through that, leveraging that kind of information to help gain more clients. So to your TIC and DSTs. So TIC and DSTs can also be a sales side for when people are trying to sell. They don't want to necessarily sell because they're tired of the 3 T's, right? The toilets, tenants, and trash. They want to, they don't want to get out and pay all the taxes, but they also don't want to be a landlord anymore, right? But they don't really know what to do because they don't really want to sell and pay all this and then, put it with their money market accounts or whatever. So these are kind of catch-alls, because ultimately sometimes people do an exchange. They want to buy a certain property, but they can't find it. And now getting to 45 days, they're like, I don't know. So then, hey, now there's these. So the difference between the two, I prefer, a lot of people prefer the tenant and common investments over the DSTs, but people make their own decisions. Delaware Statute of Trust is a trust that is built by a sponsor or a company or a developer or something. And what happens is that you can have up to 500 investors in that DST. And those people will have passive income. Usually the returns are from 4 to 6% annual. So it'll be cash distributions monthly or quarterly. But with that, you're stuck in that from 7 to 10 years. 5, sometimes maybe 5, but it's usually you're stuck in for 7 to 10 years. No say over your money, you cannot pull out. So it's kind of like the end game, something that's just passive. Tenant in common, on the other hand, is you actually are purchasing, and we're only with maybe 3 to 4 different other investors with the principal who owns 50% of it. But what happens is that your name actually goes on title. You hold a piece of the deed. And so now you have voting rights and you're part of that property essentially. But then it's full passive. You don't have to make any decisions. These are people that are very well experienced. But those your returns are usually anywhere from 5 to 7.5%. And those usually last anywhere from 2 to 5 years. And if you want to get out before, you can always sell your interest in it. It always has to sell at market rate because that's part of the property. So they weren't not going to decrease their property by selling. But most of the time when they want to sell, the principal usually just absorbs them or brings in another tick to take them over. But those seem to be a little bit more of like an investor that wants to stay in real estate, but wants to have a little bit of leverage to be able to change in and out of one to another or something in a shorter period of time. So that's kind of how we see those. And that's always something to catch all because people do want to buy properties, but sometimes if they don't, or they don't know how, then those are different systems that can do it. And we have contacts to both. Like we have 2 different tick principals that do those that have been around forever. And a lot of our clients have gone there and they've rolled into others. And so they've been very successful. And then we have DST guys that we can connect you and your clients to as well. So both sides we can help with. And so it kind of sums this up. But basically what happens is like, here's our deal room and everything that people have access to. So now for you with us, like the goal is where, look, we tend to really enjoy being partnered with you, where I get text messages or calls from agents when they're going into listing. Go get the listing. They'll be like, Mark, hey, are you free in 20 minutes, like a 5-minute call? I'm going to go talk to these people. It's in a trust. They think they might want to do this, but I might call you and we can just jump on. And so I usually get like either group texts with their clients, like, hey, this is Mark, he's one of our partners. He runs 1031 exchange, da, da, da. So it leverages a little bit more of like powerhouse in your back pocket to have that access and resource to be able to answer those questions and have, we have documentation that I'll send out. You can send those to all your clients, you can send it to all your agents, you can send it to all the people you work with, because there's FAQ pages in there that walks through that, as well as the pamphlet. You can send out the link to that as well. And that's something that's really accessible for a lot of people. So if they're asking questions and stuff like that. So, and then the clients are on the other side. So it's you to them and that. So then kind of the end with the deal room. So the deal room, I'm going to send this out. So right now, as of this week, we're reordering this whole thing. So this will be, and it's up now, but it'll be refreshed in the next week, a week and a half. But it's there. But then the other prospecting stuff will also come online within the next month. So that also helps. And the goal with all of this is really just, we're here as a resource, a helping hand to help facilitate pretty much any way to do really good, clean business. And, we're just here to be your accommodator, but we have all this network and access points for information for you and your clients. And, help for pretty much any circumstance it can be. So in that, thank you. Appreciate that. I'm Mark. This is Brandon, and we're Investors 1031 Exchange. So any questions? Anything that come?
Mark, what is your fees for the 1031 exchange compared to other accommodators?
It's 600
Deal rooms and all that full service.
$695 for the sale and $295 for the up leg.
For the what?
For the up leg. So the down leg is the sale and the up leg is the purchase. So $695, $295. Yeah, so about $990, I think, total.
Okay.
Huh?
Purchase action,
What's that?
purchase action, right?
Yeah, so let's say someone's selling 3 properties at once. Each property, and so each property has its own exchange. It has to have its own exchange by law.
Yeah.
But I mean, I won't lose a deal over a fee.
Yeah.
People do now, they go out $595. It's fine. Like, it's not a big deal. The goal is it's volume and continuous business. And we do it really well. So, that's kind of why we always stay just under the fee of everyone else. Because that's not, $75 here, $100 there is not a big deal. It's basically it's building the network, and good relationships is what we have grown the business on, and we'll continue to grow the business on. Yeah.
I just wonder, what is the oil and?
Oil and gas.
Yeah.
So, well, let's say
Interest.
oil and gas interest. So when you drive through LA, the oil derricks, right? I could buy that piece of land underneath, down to this core of the earth. What?
the well?
I buy I could buy, so I can own the land underneath all the way to the center of the earth. That's, that's me buying oil and gas interests.
Okay.
Or a company owns that and I can buy into that. Now I'm owner of this,
Yes.
land area that has wells or one well.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which, unless you're like in the middle of Texas or something, I always tend to say like, there are DSTs that you can invest in that do oil and gas. And there are bigger ones that's what I would suggest to invest in. But if you personally go, this is pulling oil, well, it could be worth $1 billion tomorrow and a month later it's worth zero and it's all gone, so. Yeah, and mineral is the same. Minerals like a diamond mine or gold.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's basically like land down.
So there's still title, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like real estate, right? When you sign a contract, technically you own up to the sky and down,
Okay, what you just said, there's a lot of homes that are being sold that do not have access to the mineral rights up underground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Iron is one of them too.
Yeah.
So you explained it, because I didn't quite understand that, because if I'm buying this property, I think I'm supposed to have something.
Yeah.
So you can't, when you're buying a property in real estate, you can still add that into the contract if it's not already taken. So you can say, you can add a mineral right into your own for $0. There's nothing there, but hey, one day it might be there, then now you're,
Maybe.
now you're with Beverly Hillbillies, right? That's what, remember that one?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm actually that old, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that one, man. That was the greatest opening video for any sitcom, whatever it was, show, man. Beverly Hillbillies. Good idea.
So what's the best time to have you involved?
Oh, so for us, the best thing is you give us a call just with your client when it's on market, or to talk about it. But as soon as it's under contract, we need to be there. So the day it gets under contract, we need to have everything engaged because we deal with the escrow. Because if escrow sets it up without having us involved for no exchange, then they have to redo everything. No big deal, but we watch over escrow because escrow documents, nothing against escrow, but escrow and title sometimes aren't always the best with line item things. So our job is to make sure that everything is correct so that things flow perfectly through tax, essentially. So if it's under contract, we have to be there. Before contract, we should be in communication, talking about the strategy with you or your clients. But I always get, and Brandon's gotten these, and you'll get, Mark, hey, they're gonna do 1031 exchange, close in 4 days. You're like, oh, it's fine. Even if it closed tomorrow, we'd be able to do it because ultimately it still can do everything the same. And then it goes to escrow. So it'll go to escrow and it can sit in escrow for a day or two until everything's finalized. And then it'll go from escrow into their exchange account. It's always better to have things done right when it goes in contract. Outside of a week, fine, before it closes, good. Inside a week, fine. It's just a little bit of a jump up and run kind of sprint thing, but that's fine. We handle it all the time, but yeah, that's when we're involved. Under contract, we're there. Yeah. Yes.
Do you have a or insurance coverage?
Insurance is the most expensive thing we pay for. So we use segregated trusts. So there's multiple accounts and segregated trusts for a specific bank. And so what happens is that we're about 450 million covered in FDIC insurance. And so we pay a lot for banking insurance. But the reason why it's covered and the reason why it's expensive is because they're segregated trusts. So basically $250,000 of, so let's say it's $2 million. Well, that person's will be in overarching, but it'll be segregated trusts underneath that at $250,000. So each one of those has the own insurance. So, so it's all that basically it's a way better way to protect cash. Which is everybody has my personal cell phone number. They have his personal cell phone number because I get calls at Saturday at 9 o'clock at night because I'm holding people's money. Then they should get in touch with me. You can call the office, you can talk to the secretary, it's fine. But when we're really engaged, clients all have my number. I love his number. Everyone talks to their clients because, I mean, when you're holding people's millions and millions of dollars, they should be able to talk to you. Period.
Yeah.
Are you under the jurisdiction of FBI?
Under the jurisdiction of FBI, no.
Protection Innovation,
Oh, Federal Protective, FPI.
DF.
Oh, DFPI. Yeah, that's overarching for all of us, yeah. But yes, but there's no SEC, but there's no SEC with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then
But there could be if someone messes up, but
But you don't have like a FDIC kind of coverage, right?
No, that's why we put
No,
we do sub accounts at $250,000 a piece. So that way it'll be FDIC insured.
yeah, so right now, so what we do is exactly what I was saying, segregated trust
Yeah,
accounts
it is.
within the trust. And so it's like, right, we basically consistently cover about 450 million of FDIC insurance.
Yeah.
Yes.
And with banks these days, you never know when the next bank's gonna go out of business. So that's why we do that. So the government's insuring.
Yeah, and I have a paper on that, but basically it's like, it's actually held between a few different banks under this. So that's the segregated trust. And so it's a ampersand is the system so it's pretty secure. But hey, it's been since 2008. We've been flawless on all that, which knock on wood, but we've had an amazing run for almost 20 years. So we'll keep going for another 20. Yeah.
Do you put the proceeds of the interest in account?
So the segregated trusts do accrue interest, small interest, but that's how we pay our company. Yeah, so we're not like escrow, because escrow can like go get bonds and they can invest all kinds of stuff. We can't do that. That's against the law for us. So the reason why our fees are low is because we have small interest bearing accounts. And that's how we do it. Now, if someone brings in $10 million to our accounts, or people actually anything over 4 million, I mean, usually they already have an up leg, so it's only there for 30 days anyways. But if it's going to sit for a little while, I always tell our clients, hey, look, we'll give you a small interest, a small portion of the interest that comes in on that, just so that you're not making any money on that, which no other company does that anyways. But for us to be able to pay for all of our insurance and pay for our business, just like any other business, that's how we make our money. Yeah. You know, I can tap dance.
All
That was a time step.
right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. And so what I'll do is if you send me, even the people that aren't here or even on Zoom or everyone in the brokerage, if you send me all the email addresses, then I'll send Brandon and I will send out an email with all the stuff for everyone, so you can contact.
Yeah.
Yes. And then that way you'll have both of our
Yeah.
communications, like both of our.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Let me get them. Thank you for attending this very informative Investors 1031 exchange. You will be getting communication from them within the next week. Thank you so much for coming, and I wish you all a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Good job, guys.
Yeah, good fight.
Yeah, feels good.
I'll text you.
You cover a lot of stuff.
We'll send you.
You know, very,
We'll send you.
very methodically and
He's
That's
a
good. That's
good
good.
public
That's
speaker.
good.
Yeah, he's good.
Wonderful.
Don't only did-
买东西，现在才开始有。
Oh, there's quite a bit of you on here.
Well, you recorded it.
So thank you. We're grateful you guys all came. Thank you.
You'll have it on this.
We'll see you on Monday.
Yeah.